Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Peddle. We are closing in on the postseason, everybody. Only a couple weeks left of regular season baseball. We got to talk about the New York Mets, who are going crazy right now. Also, their brethren, the New York Yankees, who are fighting for that division lead over there in the AL East. Shohei Ohtani doing something historic as per usual. And a bunch of other stuff going on in baseball, folks. This is going to be a very exciting episode as we're ramping up for that postseason ball. Adam, how are we doing Monday morning? How are we feeling?
Feeling pretty tired. You know, we had football Sunday yesterday, which was nice and relaxing. I mean, it was not when the game was on. It was very much a lot of adrenaline, but afterwards, very relaxing after you've had a few beers deep and you got to sit and watch other non-stressful games. But today, it's baseball all day long. Lots of stuff to do today. And today it starts off with talking about the other teams around the league, which I'm always more interested in September when my team is out of the postseason run.
Right.
Way more interesting.
Sure, of course. I mean, you know, for those who don't know, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. Adam is an Arizona Cardinals fan. Both of our teams are now 0-1 to start the NFL season. And it makes me kind of want to be a New York Mets fan because they are going insane mode right now, everybody. Their 9-game win streak did sadly just come to an end, but they're still 9-1. Still 9-1 in the last 10, are cooking with gasoline, and now are all tied up with the Atlanta Braves for that final wild card spot in the National League. As it stands right now, both of those teams have a record of 78 and 65. They're in there, all tied. What does that math work out to be? A little bit less than 20 games at this point, I believe it would be, until the end. That is a battle right now.
It is, man. Hey, it's exciting because last week we were talking about, the Atlanta Braves, and the Braves this season, they had a lot of injuries, and they tried to, Band-Aid that with the exact same cast of characters that came over in 2021. And, hey, respect to Double A. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But his team was a little bit banged up. He tried to patch that up, but it's a few guys are a little bit older now, and they are just kind of middling along. I mean, 5-5 in their last 10, and now that hot New York Mets team is starting to take over, and I've been looking over at the New York Mets, and I really like what's going on. They're second right now in pitching ERA. The Braves were first. They dropped down to third. In the last 15 days, let me mind you, so when I'm talking about these rankings. So the Mets are still cooking with gas, and then their offense is doing good enough for a team that is a top 2 pitching staff. They are 11th in OPS. Excuse me, that is the New York Yankees. They're actually 15th. So they're mid in their offense, but it's just enough when you have a second-ranked overall pitching staff. That's good enough for you to do well. And I'm leaning with the hot hand. You know how all postseason in baseball, or I guess postseason really for any sport, it's all about whoever's hot going into it. And for me, it is the New York Mets. And I think the New York Mets are going to continue this. With only 20 games, like you said, that's left, I'm riding with those Mets to win that final wildcard spot.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard it time and time again, right? Pitching wins championships, and like if you got a top 3 pitching rotation walking into the postseason, that's that type of shit that brings you all the way to the end of October. Like we really could see the New York Mets go on one hell of a run with the way that they're playing baseball right now. They're starting a series up against the Toronto Blue Jays. For those of you who've been listening for a little while right now, you guys know that we're Toronto Blue Jays fans. We've been calling them the Toronto Blue Clowns because that's kind of what they've been doing all season long. So honestly, I look at that for a hot New York Mets team, and I'm thinking there's 3 wins right there ready for the taking.
Yeah, well, the Blue Jays just faced the Atlanta Braves over the weekend, and the Braves took 2 of 3, so they did their part. Now the Mets got to do their thing and at least take 2 of 3, if not sweep them. And
I'd say minimum is 2. Like they're at minimum going to take 2 of 3.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I mean, again, like against the Toronto Blue Jays with a team that's doing this well right now, that feels like you're going to make up some ground against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, and they got to cook that rookie, lineup. If you guys aren't aware, the Blue Jays are rolling out basically their AAA team right now. And granted, a lot of guys are doing some pretty good stuff in the lineup for them lately, but you got to cook them with this pitching staff that's doing very good. Dude, Sean Manaea, he went through a little bit of a little bit of a I guess roadblocks, speed bumps through his career.
He's been up and down.
He's been so up and down, and now he's back with the Mets, and he's been good in the last 30 days. 3.86 ERA. Luis Severino with the other New York Yankee team.
Yes.
He's got a 2.65 ERA in the last 30 days. He's starting to cook a little bit. And, remember David Peterson?
Yeah.
David Peterson is now a starting pitcher for them. And in 33 of his last 33 innings pitched, he's got a 1.60 ERA. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't care how they're doing it, but they're doing it, and they're getting wins, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, you kind of take these guys in a vacuum and you go, oh, Luis Severino or Shamanai. It's like, yeah, like we've shown promise in the past, but like I wouldn't be really wanting to rely on any of these guys in the postseason. But right now, with the way that they're playing ball, with the way that they are slinging the baseball, everything is looking good in New York Mets land. This is exactly what it was that Steve Cohen wanted to create when he came in, in that ownership role and just started spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on this organization. You have an MVP candidate in Francisco Lindor, who, mind you, I do not believe is going to win MVP, but, we'll certainly get votes. And you just got a solid organization top to bottom. They are looking really good. Before we transition and talk about another team, I do want to bring up the fact that Pete Alonso, let's keep in mind, Pete Alonso, free agent at the end of this season. Do you think that Steve Cohen goes out and pays for his big-time slugger?
Possibly. I mean, he obviously wants to go get Juan Soto, so if you go get Juan Soto, I mean, Steve Cohen, he could maybe get both if he really wants to.
Because
right?
He's that type of guy.
He's that kind of guy, right? But I think they're going to try for Juan Soto. I don't think they're going to get him. He's going to be a Yankee for life. And then I really do think he will and will attempt to sign back Pete Alonso. I mean, he's a fan favorite there. You know what I mean? I mean, unless somebody's heard otherwise, it seems like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, Pete Alonso is having a down year, everybody, but honestly, his down year is still really, really good. You look at the production here. He's scored 82 runs. He's got 31 home runs. He's got 79 RBIs. The batting average is a bit lower than what it typically is. He's batting .240, but he's got an OPS of .792. Across the board, this is a well above average player, and when you factor in the guy's got over 30 bombs, that's the floor for Pete. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's like the ceiling is we can be up there with Aaron Judge smacking 50-plus dingers. The floor is I hit 30 in my down year. I think that Pete Alonso is frankly a staple in this New York Mets lineup, and even though, of course, Juan Soto is he's Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Like he is obviously better. It feels like as far as sluggers go, like we're talking guys that can drive runs in, that can, threaten a long bomb at any point in the game, that you will bat fourth or fifth in your lineup without fail for the entire season. As far as sluggers go, Pete Alonso is among the best.
And he kind of needs to stay. I mean, I'm looking at this team. Yeah, you got Pete Alonso. Francisco Lindor, as we know, has been MVP candidate his last 30 days. OPS over 1,000. That's awesome. They traded for Jesse Winker. He's been great for them. He's been doing a lot of clutch hits so far with the Mets and has earned an everyday role. Mark Vientos has been a very good surprise breakout. But still, that's kind of it. They have Jeff McNeil, but he just ended the season with an injury.
Yeah, that's actually really tough.
Yeah, we were talking last week about getting pitched inside. He broke his hand on a I'm assuming a fastball, because that's probably what you're breaking your hand on. And his season's over. So that's another thing to note of the whole Whit Merrifield situation. It's another guy down. But you could see how after that, there's really not a lot of guys that instill me with confidence in this lineup in the postseason. If they run into a hot pitcher, that offense is going to struggle. And yes, their pitching has been good, but we kind of mentioned the names. Like, do we really think that Minaya and Severino is going to carry this hot stretch into October and continue it? Who knows?
Well,
who knows? They're doing it now, but doesn't instill me with a lot of confidence. You know what I mean?
Listen, I understand that the name value might not necessarily be there, but again, you've said it time and time again, and I do agree with you, right? It's like you got to ride this hot hand. Like, fuck, Joe Bloke, if he's throwing a 1.5 ERA in the last 30 days, like, I don't really care what your name is. It's like if you were doing good, like, you're doing good. Obviously, the lights are going to be bright when you get there, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you're doing it right now. I think that this team's got as good a chance as any team right now, considering the way that the pitching is throwing.
Yeah, the reason why I bring it up is, again, there's certain names, and maybe I'm being an ass to Minaya or Severino, but there's certain names that will when they find it, they'll continue being hot the whole season. You know what I mean? Whereas these guys don't have a big track record of finding it and staying hot. You know what I mean? So if they can ride it until they cool off, that's obviously a benefit.
Yeah. I mean, the New York Mets, first things first, we're talking postseason right now, but you still got to make it in there. You are currently just tied with the Atlanta Braves, so that is going to be a battle up until the very bitter end. I think last week when we were evaluating that kind of back-and-forth battle there, we did say that they had a series against one another coming up at some point.
At the very end. Second-last series,
I believe it's the second-last series, so that really could decide everything. If you're within a game or even 2 games of one another, that means everything, right? It really does mean everything. So just start ramping up for that. Like, I'm planning my pitching out for that. I'm playing it. Everything is about that one fucking series because, you cannot afford to get swept. And if you do sweep them, it's like, boom, you're automatically in.
It's like last year, to a lesser extent, but it's like last year. Remember when you had the 3 teams in the AL West, the Astros, Seattle, and Rangers? They all faced each other in the final week or 2 of the season. That was an insane battle, and they were all within like a game and a half of each other. This one is, to a lesser extent, going to be between these guys. And for entertainment's sake, I hope it's very close.
Yeah, shout out to the schedule makers for kind of organizing. Obviously, this is all planned out at the beginning of it, right? We like to have those division battles right at the very end. So that is a one to absolutely watch.
Mm-hmm. And now, one team to absolutely watch to see if they can hang on to a postseason spot. Going over to the American League, you've got the Minnesota Twins, who are, I believe they are not doing too well since the second half, since the All-Star break. 22-25, and they were one of the better teams in the first half. They were 54-42, very solid record. And then they started to scuffle a lot lately, and just to go into their last 10, they're 4-6. They're on a 3-game losing streak because they just got swept by their division rivals, the Kansas City Royals, who have now leapfrogged over them in the AL Central, but they are still in a playoff spot. They're hanging on to that 3rd wildcard spot. But looking at the Minnesota Twins, not a lot of things are going right for them. They are dealing with a ton of injuries, dude. We mentioned this before, but really take into consideration, they're missing Carlos Correa. They're missing Byron Buxton, Max Kepler, Alex Kirilloff, and Manuel Margot.
That's a lot.
Those ain't scrubs. No. Those are dudes that are going to fill out that lineup. And in the last 15 days, I believe it is, they are actually on the bottom, one of the bottom teams in OPS. They are 28th with an OPS of 614. That has had the Angels and the White Sox. So they have a lot of, the problems are clear. It's the injuries are struggling. They are struggling with the injuries, and that offense is suffering. And it feels like they're a car with a broken axle trying to get into the postseason.
Yeah, at this point, you're just trying to make it there, right? You really are just trying to make it there. And if you get a postseason game, and then, you can deal with that and kind of hope for the best. We were talking about this American League postseason bracket last week, and we were effectively kind of stapling it in and being like, all right, it's set, because at that point, it was like 5.5 or 6 games out was that second team. Now you're looking at Detroit and you're looking at Seattle. Both of them are 3.5 games back. Boston Red Sox are 4 games back. So, if any one of those squads decides to really turn it on, it's not impossible. Now, Minnesota, don't do this. Don't do this to your fans. You've been in a playoff spot effectively all season long. All season long, you've been in a playoff spot. To lose it now would just be one of the most heartbreaking things from a Minnesota Twins fan standpoint. And let me be very clear, I am not a Minnesota Twins fan at all. I actually watched that team destroy my team in the postseason last year. It sucked. But I also understand how much of a blue ball sensation you would get from a fan standpoint if you watch your team be in the postseason bracket all year long to then lose it in one of the final weeks. I look at Detroit, I look at Seattle, I look at Boston. Yeah, they're good, but you can beat those guys.
Oh, yeah.
You can beat those guys. Fucking rally the troops right now. Call up whoever you need to call up. Do what you got to do. Don't lose this.
Yeah, because I think the only way they don't make postseason is if they beat themselves. They have to severely suffer in the loss column for them not to make postseason. They would have to rack up those L's because, it feels like they're beating themselves. In that Royals series, just to microscope here, they only scored 2 runs. That's how bad that is. You can't win a ball game scoring 2 runs.
No.
And especially the game that they lost. This is the one. There's an article right here by Minnesota Twins, SI.com. Rocco Baldelli was frustrated with his own bullpen. He didn't call it the bullpen, but effectively he did. Frustrated that when he pulled Bailey Ober, who was doing a one-hit ball game, no earned run, 7 strikeouts. He had to pull him. I guess there was a pitch limit on him. And when you have a 2-run lead, they blow it. They bring in Johan Duran, one of their best guys in the bullpen. Obviously, you go to trust that guy. He gives up 3 earned runs, 2 hits, only records 1 out. And there you go. There's the lead. Griffin Jax comes in, gives up another earned run. And that's the entire lead. And obviously, you'd be frustrated when you pitch a gem and your offense can't give you anything. So I think it's directing it at the wrong people right here.
Yeah, however, Rocco Baldelli needs to take some fucking ownership here because you're talking about a pitch limit. Let me read to you this sentence right here from this exact article. What was Minnesota Twins manager Rocco Baldelli thinking when he decided to replace Bailey Ober after the breakthrough right-hander had mowed down 15 straight Royals and had used only 83 pitches while allowing 1 hit over 7 shutout innings? There was no pitch limit here. There was no pitch limit. You mowed down 15 straight batters. You were absolutely destroying that other organization. Your manager takes you out. Sure, you do have some good bullpen guys. Don't get me wrong. Johan Duran is one of the best in baseball. Absolutely. Yeah. But like this is one of those classic things where, you know what? We are not using our eyeballs. We're just going to go with what, kind of the normal pre-existing plan, which is you do 7, you do 1, you do, this is what we're comfortable with. But when my guy mows down 15 straight and he's only at 83 pitches,
you go again.
I think you just keep tossing him out there until it goes, right? So sure, Rocco, fucking be frustrated, man. But some of that ownership also needs to be put on yourself. This is a manager problem. This is a offensive problem. This is an injury problem. There's a lot of problems going down with these Minnesota Twins. I look at their schedule right now, 3 games up against the LA Angels. That's what they're doing right now. Those are 3 winnable games, guys. The LA Angels are a terrible team.
They're a worse offense than you.
They are a worse offense than you. 2 runs in a series might actually be enough to beat those guys. Seriously, they're they are that bad, right? Then you got the Cincinnati Reds. So the next 6 games, winnable games here. These are winnable games. You're a playoff team. These are winnable games. Then you got the Cleveland Guardians for 4 games.
That'll be big.
The Boston Red Sox for 3. That's going to be very big because if Boston decides to get even tight, like if Boston's within 2 games of Minnesota at that point in time, I mean, okay, this series means everything. Then you got the Marlins. That's a winnable series.
Very winnable.
But then you finish off with the Baltimore Orioles, who I imagine are still going to be fighting for that division win right up until the very bitter end with the New York Yankees. So it's I wouldn't go so far to say an easy schedule. You do have some tough series in there, but I do think that this is manageable enough. If you win the games that you're supposed to win, Angels, Reds, Marlins, you'll make it. Just don't fucking fumble the bag.
They got to survive until they get their guys back, too. They need their guys. Even if they want to go to the postseason and do well, they're going to need Correa, Byron Buxton, Max Kepler. They're going to need their depth.
Yeah, but,
as simple as that.
Here's the thing, man. I don't even think you're thinking about doing well in the postseason at this point. This is it really is we are just trying to survive and get there. And then we'll do. I mean, we've all been there. Whether it be a fantasy team of yours or just an actual beer league team that you're on or whatever. We've all been there where it's we're just trying to get to the end here, and then that's the accomplishment, right? And if you can make postseason, great. You know what? Seriously, with all these injuries, well done. And then if you happen to do something after that, that's the icing on the cake. But it's just about making it to the dance at this point for the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, I mean they're probably they are the least favorite one in the actual American League that are in a playoff spot right now. I did find it very interesting too. I was looking over at the Cleveland Guardians for a later segment in this video. I'll bring this up right now. They're also struggling. They're 23-25 since the second half too. So I was looking at that Cleveland Guardians series hey, they're struggling too. Right, and they're in your division. Go make up some games right there. That's an easy one for them to do. And if they're struggling, and if you can get hot at the right time, again, I really do think they got to get those offensive players back. I don't know when they're coming back. Someone let me know in the chat. Someone let us know in our DMs because that's going to be huge for them. They need the offense back. They can't go into the postseason. And if they go to the postseason, I know they're probably not thinking, oh, thank God, let's just get there and let's just scrape by. I think they're trying to try and win when they get there.
Well, I mean, of course they're going to try and win. You're not. That's it, right? Like, look, everybody's got different expectations and different kind of goals here, right? For the New York Yankees, it's win the World Series or bust. Minnesota, they hadn't won a playoff game in almost 20 years, and then they finally won a playoff game last year, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the bar is set a bit differently. Obviously, once they get there, it's if we can go on and win the World Series. That's not going to happen, though. It won't. I'll promise you guys right now. I would stake my left ball sack on the fact that the Minnesota Twins are not going to win the World Series this year.
I agree, but they're going to try.
Of course they're going to try. They're going to try. I mean, I imagine they're not just giving up right now and rolling over.
Yeah.
They're not going to, though. I'm just saying, listen, give your fans something and make it to the dance.
Mm-hmm.
You never know after that, but that for me is that's the bar.
Yeah.
Don't fumble it now after all of this. Still make it.
Right. I agree. We'll have to watch and see these Twins down the stretch and see how they do and watch them in the postseason because right now they would be paired up against those Houston Astros.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's game over. It's game over immediately.
One of the hottest teams in the league, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later, versus, one of the coldest teams going into the postseason right now. So that's that. Let's move on and we got to talk about Shohei Ohtani a little bit right now. We're going to bring it up every single time. And this Shohei Ohtani segment is brought to you by Greta Bar, guys. Go check it out. Downtown Toronto, King Street West, okay? King in Portland, they've got over 50 arcade games. They've got some great bar food. It turns into a club at night. So you want to go have some fun and play some games, do some dancing. You can do that all at Greta Bar. It's a super vibey place. So shout out to Greta Bar, everybody. Shohei Ohtani, we've been watching the 50-50 watch. Currently, he's at 46-46 after hitting a 450-foot homer to finally get it. And he's now only 4 homers and 4 stolen bases away from getting that mark. And I believe he's got a little bit less than 20 games, 19 games in this article left. You think he's on pace?
That feels good to me. That feels like it's going to happen right there. He did come out afterwards because obviously everybody's asking him about this. And the pressure, once people start really paying attention to all this shit, that's when it gets tough. Because now it's every game, it's people are talking about it, we're talking about it, you're thinking about it. But Shohei Ohtani, because he is a legend, is doing the right thing right now and saying that he's just trying to be less cognizant of it, so not thinking about this as much, which is the right play. He's saying just more focused on having a good feel at the plate, and whenever possible during the game, that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to focus on. And if he can stay in that mindset of one at bat at a time, one stolen base at a time, right? Just playing the game of baseball the way that he plays it, then you're going to be totally fine, and he is absolutely going to do it. It's once you start thinking about, okay, I need to get my 48th home run this game. I need to get my 47th stolen base right now. That's when it's just not going to work for him. Mm-hmm. I trust Ohtani, though, because, again, it's Shohei Ohtani, and I just think that, his we often talk about the talent that he has, and it is insane, but also the mental strength that Ohtani has, the mental endurance right there to deal with all the shit that people say about him, which is, you're Babe Ruth, you're the best player ever. It's that's almost harder to deal with than when people are down against you, because when people are down on you and being oh, he's not very good, well, your whole thing is I'm gonna go my hardest and prove these guys wrong. Whereas when people are up and being this is the best player of all time ever, it's you almost feel every single day you have to you have to meet your expectations, right? Or else people are going to start getting down on you, right? You don't want to do that. So he's been able to deal with that level of, I guess scrutiny and criticism for, almost a decade at this point, from, since he was in Japan all the way here, he was a prodigy there, and now he's, won several MVPs. I feel like he's more than capable of making it 19 or 18 more games of, tacking on a couple extra home runs and stolen bases. This feels I don't want to say a lock, but a lock.
Yeah, it feels like you'll get him some way or another, but, he is playing the game right. I mean, he hasn't been forcing any stolen bases lately. In his last 5 games, he hasn't got a single stolen base.
Okay.
Oh, no.
No, but, like, honestly, like, I feel like
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's like he's going to – because there's going to be opportunities that pop up and arise, you know, but the patience on Ohtani, like, he doesn't want to – like, because he also doesn't want to ruin the game for these guys. He's not trying to get caught stealing, doing something stupid.
He hasn't even attempted one in 5 games.
Exactly,
you know? So he's not forcing it, so that's good. And he has 2 homers in the month of September. So, you know, there's a bit like 2/3 of the month left. So he just he's on pace for it right now. But yeah, no, I think that's the right way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, like I always think it's so interesting how as human beings we love round numbers. And and it's like, yeah, because if you didn't get 50-50, it's like, it wasn't as good, obviously, because it's a higher number. It wasn't as good as 49-49 or whatever it might be, but we want that perfect round number. Even if you went 52 and 48, like, we don't like that. You know what I mean?
No, of course not.
It's so interesting. So, Ohtani, like, just remove this whole societal expectation, just play baseball.
I mean, it is kind of dumb. At the end of the day, like 46 and 46 has never been done before.
You've already done it.
It's the most anyone's ever done in that, you know, like in that category, in that cherry pick kind of stat right there. So it's like you already are setting records with every single home run and every single stolen base that you hit. It's just that 50-50 number, you know, and
like,
everyone wants to say that.
It's just like, oh, it's half 100. That feels good.
It feels really good.
To think about.
And I mean, it does actually feel good to think about. You know what I mean? It is super weird to think about. How much do you think his like if he does hit it like that 50th bomb? How much do you think that baseball is going to go for?
God.
That's got to be like right up there with
hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Hundreds
of thousands, yeah. Because like there was another. No, maybe I'm thinking about Judge's ball. Judge's ball, 62nd homer.
Yeah, that went for a ton.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yo, that base too, because that base is going to the Hall of Fame. The one he steals, they're going to take it out and like put it to the Hall of Fame.
You think they'll just take it? Yeah.
I think they did that with Acuna's base because he did some record breaking. He did a record breaking like 40-70 last year. Did he get 40 homers last year? I might be mistaken.
Forget what he did something.
He did
ridiculous,
something crazy like that too. But that 50 stolen base is gonna also go into the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Probably, yeah. But at least the baseball, like whatever home run he hits, somebody's gonna have that.
Oh, man.
Listen, I imagine that the person that does catch that ball is not gonna be listening right now. But if you are, don't give it back. Don't give it back.
We talked about this before. Negotiate.
No, seriously. Get that thing, like when you're walking into the Dodgers game, wherever it is, whether it be a road game or a home game or whatnot, you take a look. How many home runs does he have? If he's at 49 home runs, you need to be mentally aware of that. And the second that ball comes straight to you, out of the ballpark. Out of the ballpark.
Just leave.
Gun it. You know, then you get the footage, making sure that you can show everybody that this is the ball. And you sell that shit, and you change your life forever.
Man, that would be, dude. I'd milk the crap out of that. You know, I'd like obviously we have a YouTube channel right now, but I'd create a whole separate YouTube channel, I'd be like the Ohtani ball holder, you know, the 50-50 ball holder.
Oh yeah,
and I would milk that.
That's the thing. You got to have that mentality, though. You could even go crazy with it here. I mean, you could take the ball, right? So let's say you catch that baseball, you run out of there. Who's to say that you don't swap the balls later?
Oh, yeah, dude. I've seen kids do that, man. Kids are geniuses. Have a ball already in your hand.
Right.
And like have it on video seeing you switch it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, boom, we give it to and it's like, Ohtani, your ball is fake.
Right.
I have the real ball.
Yeah. Well, dude, you could listen, you could go as far to like bring the balls home, sell a fake ball. And then hold on to the real one, and then sell the real one later, years later. You know, it comes out that ball's fake. You know?
How would they? Maybe you'd have to be like authenticate. I don't know.
You have to figure out a way. Listen,
you can't authenticate it.
I'm not sure yet because I haven't caught the ball. But if I did catch the ball, you better believe that's the first type of shit that I'm looking into.
So you better do your work beforehand, and then like get lucky enough to get the ball.
I'm bowling people over, dude. Like,
I
am bowling people over.
Oh yeah, have you ever seen the San Francisco Giants guys in the Bay that are like going for balls? Because like, there's only
like
been
in
so
the
many
kayaks and shit.
Yeah, there's only been so many in history that actually got hit straight into the water.
Yeah.
So when they get those balls, they hold on to them. They battle. Like it's like a competitive kayaking to go get those balls.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think honestly that'd be like pretty fun. If you can go out there, I've never seen anyone do it, but like if you could go out there and like go fishing or some shit,
right?
Because it's like most of the time you're probably just sitting out there.
Yeah.
and nothing happens.
Nothing
Like
happens.
literally nothing happens. Right?
Yeah, like
it's like how often are they just sitting there and no home run is hit and nothing gets out there? It's like that's got to be boring as sin.
Yeah, like I actually I'm looking up right now. I don't think it's that much, man. Like I don't think that many have ever been hit there.
Because there's always people sitting out there.
They said, okay, there's a video called All 100 Splash Hits at Oracle Park, and that was a year ago.
Okay.
So
So 100.
Yeah.
About 100 times as it left the ballpark and gone into the drink.
And 82 games a year, times that by however long the video's been.
And that's the thing, right? Like, if you're one of those people, are you there every single
There's a guy that I actually saw. There's a guy that's actually there every single game.
That's insane.
Imagine when it finally happens, probably the one time per year.
Well,
it's like, holy moly.
Yeah, you better believe I am going to kick your ass if you get in my way, dude.
Exactly.
Like, I've been sitting here for like 60 games,
And he's got the radio on too, and he obviously listens to the ballpark, so like he'll hear it and like imagine every time like being that locked in. That's a lot of fun.
No,
that's commitment.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like again, like I don't know, man. If it's Ohtani's 50-50 ball, maybe we can talk. But like for anything less, I don't think I'm interested.
No, not at all. But that segment's brought to you by Greta, guys. Go check it out. Downtown Toronto, King Street West. Shout out to Greta once more. Let's move on. Let's talk about another big team.
Yeah, I want to talk about the New York Yankees, everybody. This blew my mind when I saw this statistic. Shout out to, it was either Talking Baseball or John Boy, one of the two. They posted a thing saying that the New York Yankees are looking for and are going to get their 32nd consecutive winning season. In 32 years, they have never had a losing season. I'm 26 years old. Am I 26 years old? Yeah, I'm 26 years old. I'm 26 years old. So in my lifetime, and then tack on 8 more years, they have never had a losing season. In that time frame, they've obviously won a couple World Series, 5 of them to be, correct. But that's just fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
That's actually just truly insane when you think about how good and how dominant the New York Yankees are year in and year out. The floor is, like literally the floor is, we're right around that 500 mark. That's the worst possible case scenario. The ceiling is we're up over 100 wins, and they've done that a bunch of times in that time frame as well. I mean, we're Toronto Blue Jays fans. They've never had a season with 100-plus wins. The New York Yankees have done it in that time frame. I'm trying to count right now. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I might have missed one there. 8 times.
Oh my
7
God.
or 8 times in the last 32 years they've had over 100 wins. Like this team, I feel like we don't even talk enough about as to how good this almost dynasty run has been for the New York Yankees, because it's like we're just so fucking used to it at this point that these guys are always going to be good.
I know, and the thing is, like, a lot of people can be like, "Well, when you paid that much money, like, of course you're gonna have winning teams." Well, I mean, the Mets last year, they paid a lot of money for a losing team.
Yeah, for sure.
The Blue Jays this year, we're 9th in payroll. We're only paying 90 less million than the Yankees, and 218 just on the player payroll, no taxes included. And we're a losing team. The Rangers are a losing team. The Cubs, are they back? I think they're back, actually. But there's a lot of losing teams up there in the top 10 of payroll. So the fact that they're willing to, that they have paid every single year so much money, and they're still winning, and I mean, that's impressive. But the one thing that I always note, and the Yankees fans, I've kind of come out and said this, and John Boy has also said this, like, man, like, it has been awful being a Yankee fan for the last 15 years. Which at first glance, if me being me and Blue Jay fans, you hear that and you go, the hell, like, you privileged prick, like, you go to the postseason like almost every year and you win you have a winning record every year. Well, it's because they are winning so much and they haven't won the World Series. They're 0 for 10 since 2019 in postseason World Series rings. So.
No, and listen, I do understand that as well, right? Like, my football team, the Green Bay Packers, have been to the postseason a bunch, and I personally, since being a fan of them, have never watched them go in and win a Super Bowl before. So it is honestly tough watching your team be good every single year. Everybody's on you talking about how good you're going to be, and you're coming up short time and time
Cowboys.
and time again. I mean, listen, it happens with a lot of different squads, and the New York Yankees have not been capable of getting over that hump, right? It's like, in fact, since 2009, they've never been to the World Series. Now, a big problem with that is obviously the Houston Astros, and eventually you're gonna have to figure it out, guys. Like you're gonna have to exercise those demons and deal with that and get back to that place. But the Yankees this year, I don't like. Am I crazy to say that it's different? Is it nuts to say that it's gonna be any different?
See the Yankees, like, that's the thing. We've been talking about hot teams this entire time, right? I'm gonna look up what they've been doing recently, but they've been kind of around that like 500 mark. Let me just like pull this up to make sure. Are you a big believer in what they're doing? Do you think they're gonna have a big run?
Part of the reason that I'm starting to like them a little bit is the fact that Garrett Cole is all the way back.
Right. He's
like
very good.
He's all the way back, dude. Like, so we were talking about how his we were thinking, oh well, maybe he might opt out, and we were like, I don't know if he's gonna opt out or not of his contract, dude. Now he's got a 3.36 ERA.
Right.
Like he's pitched 75 innings, so it's like I think like since. Actually, let me pull this up right now. Let me go to the game logs here. Like, it's like he's back into Cy Young form effectively. Like when we go over to his, so from the beginning of so from August 4th to now, he's got an ERA of 1.58. So in the last like 7 starts, he's just been incredible. So look, they have a locked-in starter right there for game 1 of whatever it is that they're in.
Right.
And I like their chances in that altogether. Now, one thing I will note that Aaron Judge isn't hitting home runs right now. He's not hitting a whole lot of home runs, so he's now not on pace anymore to hit 62.
That's unfortunate.
Only 57 is what he'd be on pace for. What a scrub.
Yeah.
But still, man, like something about Aaron Judge and Juan Soto together, like that just I feel like in the postseason, it's just gonna be so hard to deal with those two guys.
I mean, looking at speaking of Judge, last 15 games, he's batting 208, slugging 434. That's not Aaron Judge numbers.
That is definitely questionable.
Even more specific, last 7 games, 154, slugging of 231. I think he's going to come out of that pretty easily. And then, yes, Garrett Cole's been great, but the other, 13 members or whatever of the pitching staff, they've got a 4.25 ERA. That's 17th in baseball in the last 15 days. So it's like they have some definite guys, they have got some superstars. They've got Garrett Cole, they've got Juan Soto, they've got Aaron Judge, but they do need them to be on, and they need the rest of the cast of characters to also be on. I did look it up. Second half, they're 24-21. Good. Not as good as the win-loss percentage in the first half, where they had a win-loss percentage of 59%. Now it's 53%, so a little less. But, I mean, right now I would say if I were to give it to anybody, like to kind of go to the World Series this year, again, we've said it time and time again, Houston Astros have just been on a tear. And, this whole American League, like the guys in the playoffs are just kind of like, they're not giving me a lot of like power like the NL has this year,
I do understand that, right? It's like it feels like the Astros are the one team that are really starting to surge at the proper time.
Yeah.
And then you look around here. I mean, maybe you could argue the Kansas City Royals. They won 4 in a row, so that feels good. But they're also 4-6 in their last 10. So it's like just prior to being on that 4-game win streak, they were kind of scuffling. So I do certainly hear what you're saying there. The Cleveland Guardians, we brought them up earlier. They're kind of slowing down a little bit. Who do you like? Obviously, the Houston Astros are there. Between the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles, not about the division win, but just in the postseason in general, like, who do you like more there?
It's so tough, man, because they're both kind of doing the same thing.
Similar shit.
I think I like the Yankees, though, because Orioles' pitching staff is hurt. They are hurting right now a little bit, and their offense has been slowing down. Whereas the Yankees, I think I have a little bit more confidence. Like they have a little bit more depth in the pitching side of things, and I do like pitching over hitting in the postseason. Now, granted, the stats actually have been coming out that the team who can hit the most home runs in the postseason,
we saw that last year,
are actually going to win it. And I'm looking actually in the last little bit, who has hit more home runs? Is it the Yankees or
I'll tell you right now, both of them aren't doing very good. The Baltimore Orioles in the last 30 days have the 21st ranked offense. The Yankees, they're ranked 6th, though. I mean, that's the last 30 days. Last 15 days, though, if you want to get even tighter, I feel like neither of them are doing great, and that would be the case. The Yankees down there at 19, Baltimore, I don't even know where, 21 again. So, I mean, like both of the offenses on both sides for them are just not doing it like some other teams are doing it right now.
No, not really, man. And like for me, I think I would take the Yankees too because there's a lot of guys on that roster that have a lot of postseason experience,
Right.
You know, whereas the Orioles batters have not. Yeah, the Orioles right now, no Rodriguez, no Bradish. We knew that. No Means, we knew that. Wells. They do have Zach Eflin back. That is good to see that he's doing well. But yeah, you have a guy like Cade Povich right now. I actually picked him up in fantasy because I need stuff for our matchup. Actually, I'm facing you in this week. I picked up Cade Povich. He's been well, but he's a rookie. You know, is he going to do well in the postseason? So it all comes. Wow, no Mountcastle. He's injured right now. That's kind of Westberg's injured. So they got a couple guys again injured. In our experience, I'm going Yankees in this regard. If they're that even, I'm going Yankees.
Yeah, it is really tight for me. I think I lean Yankees as well, just between those two. I think that we would both agree, though, that just by the way that the Houston Astros are playing, like they're kind of power ranked as our number one American League team right now. Yankees, for me, are probably right behind it, and then you have the Baltimore Orioles, and then everyone else kind of falls in there. I think that for Baltimore, it's like we just haven't seen it yet. In the dance, right? It's like we watched you guys get there last year and then get swept, and you were one of the most exciting teams in baseball. I still think that, like, I like you a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's like, oh, shit, there's Baltimore in the World Series. Like, really, I would not be shocked at all. But right now, if I had to bet my life, I do think that the Yankees, Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, like, those are three veteran dudes who have done it time and time again. I kind of want to ride with them.
Yeah, especially when you look at, like, the three superstars on that team. You got Juan Soto, Judge, and Cole. Cole and Soto have World Series rings.
They do, yeah.
So they've actually gone and they've done it.
Yeah.
In the high pressure moments. So I'm leaning there. I actually, this is a great transition because we're talking about who we'd rather take in what for the postseason. You got a power rankings by MLB.com. Will Litch, I think is his last name. He's got power rankings for the season. We were talking last week about some power rankings, but I think it's nice to go into it a little bit more. And kind of disagree or agree with what Will has kind of put out here and who the power rankings are. To kind of cap off that note of the American League, you've got the Yankees as the highest AL team. They're third right now. And then you've got the Baltimore Orioles and then the Houston Astros. For us personally, I think we'd go Astros just based on how they're doing going into this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that he's got the Astros down here, right, you got to factor in how these power rankings work, right? It's like, well, like he's kind of basing it off of what he had last week and whatnot. He doesn't want to go too crazy. I just think that, sure, when you look at the overall records, Houston's got the, not as good of a season-long record as these guys. But this is a different baseball team than what it was in June or April or whenever, right? Like we are in a very different, just a different element now. The Astros are here. The Astros are alive. Pound for pound, who do I want right now? It would be Houston. After that, though, I do agree with him that it is Yankees and then it is Orioles in terms of the American League. Looking over at the National League there, he's got the Dodgers ranked as the best team right now in baseball and the Phillies right behind them at 2. It's tight. I mean, like, I really, like, it's a fucking weird season, guys. It's a weird fucking season because there's not, like, one superpower for me. There really isn't, you like the Dodgers are great, but they got their problems. The Phillies are great, but they got their problems. The Mets are looking like, this godsend organization, but let's keep in mind that, they're still 78 and 65, and they might not even make postseason, right? So it's a weird year in terms of, like, who do we like? Because it feels like everyone is so close together right now.
Yeah, and, like, I think we lean Phillies because we see the Phillies pitching staff being very complete, healthy, doing it, whereas you got a lot of injuries over there in the Dodgers. They lost Kershaw last week, too, who is, again, just a pitcher, not as great as he used to be, but a pitcher that was filling out their depth. So, like, there's a lot there. But then, obviously, you got the high-powered offense at the Dodgers. But you also got a high-powered offense at the Phillies. So, I kind of lean Phillies. But, again, it's not by a large margin, because you're looking at the Dodgers, and they still got a lot of great guys in their offense. If they were dealing with injuries on the offense side of things, well, then it's very clear. But no one's really running away with it, to your point.
Yeah,
no one's getting 100 wins this season.
No one's getting 100 wins this season. Look at this rate. Let's do the math right here. There's like 19, 18 games left for teams. It's like the maximum here might be like 95 wins. right?
That's
like
pretty low, man.
That's a real thing that could happen there,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like maybe the LA Dodgers get close to the 100 when they're at 86 right now.
Right.
So maybe they get close, but like it's not like an overwhelmingly dominant season from any one team. In fact, you know, quick shout out here to Betway, folks. I think I might start looking at betting on a lot of these underdogs. You know, like when you're looking at the World Series odds and shit, why not the Padres? Why not the Arizona Diamondbacks? You know, like, why not the Kansas City Royals, who are, like, doing it right now? Like, seriously, you know, if there's no overwhelmingly dominant force here, obviously the Dodgers will be favored in, the Phillies will be favored in, and Yankees and whatever. But, you know, everybody feels so close to me at this current moment. Sure, you have all these power rankings. Like, they got the Padres ranked down at 9 or 8, the Diamondbacks at 9. I don't see much of a tier difference at all between, you know, the ranked 9 Diamondbacks and honestly anyone else, really. Like, it's like they're all kind of in that same tier for me.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, this is a generalization because this is a full season sample size, but you look at the New York Mets win percentage of 54%, and then you look at the Milwaukee Brewers, who, if the Mets do make postseason at third spot, that's who they're going to face, and they have a winning percentage of 57%. So it's only 3% off, and then it's whoever's hot. Like, you know, if the Mets roll in to postseason, 9 of their last 10 they've won, and the Brewers are 5-5, I might lean the Mets.
Yeah.
You know, again, you got to look at the matchups with pitchers because it's only a 3-game series in the wild card. But, yeah, anybody could run away with it. In the last couple of years, you've seen people run away with it, like the Arizona Diamondbacks, 84 wins, goes to the World Series. This year, especially, it could happen.
You know, in fact, I think the only team that I can label as being dead, in my opinion, when I say dead, it's like I just don't see any reality where they're going to do it, is probably the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, the Twins.
I think I look at every single other team, and I'm like, you know what? It's like there's a real shot here. It's like it's not a complete, because usually you get these teams that enter into postseason, and it's like, okay, they're there, but like, they're going to be gone.
They're going to be gone.
They're going to be gone.
Right.
I don't really, like, it's not like anyone's super weak here, right? Like, I really think that other than the Minnesota Twins, I could see any of these squads making it to the, you know, ALCS or NLCS or whatever it is, right?
Let's do a quick tier ranking here. And let's do a quick one. So let's the first tier is World Series contenders. Like, these guys got legitimate World Series contenders. Next tier is going to be, you know, hopeful World Series contenders, like maybe they can go on a deep run, hopefully. And then the next ones are going to be just happy to be here. 3 tiers, make it very simple. Who do you got in your World Series contenders at this rate?
I got the LA Dodgers, I got the Philadelphia Phillies, I have the New York Yankees, I have the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, I got the Houston Astros too. Like,
yeah.
Do I put the Milwaukee Brewers there? Maybe
I think they're more hopeful, I would say. Because that's kind of their expectation.
Okay, so like I probably got those teams there. Then, you know, in your I guess like hopeful World Series contenders, it's I got the Milwaukee Brewers, I got the San Diego Padres, the Arizona Diamondbacks, whichever one of the Atlanta Braves or New York Mets decides to make it in, one of those. I also got the Cleveland Guardians. And then maybe it's the Kansas City Royals and Minnesota Twins for happy to be here.
Right, yeah, because I think I like that. I was going to put them in the middle one, but now I'm thinking about it, like they won 50 games.
Yeah, they won 50 games last year. So they are actually just fucking happy to be here right now. You know?
They could get swept. It's like the Blue Jays when they went back to the wild card in 2020. Short season, I know. But when they got swept, I was like, well, I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're a Kansas City Royal fan, you're like, okay, we have actual hope for the future. There is something to build off of here. If we win a game, great. If not, I do not care. Like we were in it. We made it. So I think there's only 2 teams that are happy to be here, and even the Kansas City Royals. It's like I could see you guys making a play here.
They got a good team. Yeah, I like them a lot.
And I also want to make it very clear as well, folks. Like the tier difference for me, like sure we made 3 tiers there or whatever, but the difference for me between World Series contender and hopeful World Series contender, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's a very minimal tier difference in my opinion.
I think the only difference maker is the expectations that those teams have. You know what I mean? Like all the teams you listed, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Astros,
it's the usual suspects.
They're the ones that are supposed to be there and supposed to win, where the other ones, we're happy. We're happy to be there.
Yeah, for sure, man. You guys let us know in the comments down below. Who do you have winning it all when it's all said and done? Let's transition to one of the final talking points today. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he is making a push right now to potentially win the batting title. Bobby Witt Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that's the battle that's going on. We got an article here by Bleacher Report predicting who is going to finish with all of kind of the key offensive statistics, everything like that. You know, we got the standard. They're predicting Aaron Judge to be the guy. They're predicting Aaron Judge to have the most RBIs. You know, the runs scored is Bobby Witt Jr. That's all American League, by the way, everybody. They have their National League ones too. But the only one that's actually like kind of contentious is the fact that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is their prediction to finish with the batting title.
Wow.
Currently on the year, let me pull up his statistics right now. I actually don't have them in front of me. If you have them, let me know.
I got him right now. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
Yeah.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the year, he's batting .324, and Bobby Witt Jr. is batting .336.
Okay.
And as we know, there's only about 19 games left in the regular season, so that's a big swing that you're asking for. However, I think this is where they're coming in with this prediction. We know how hot Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been lately. His last 15 games, he's batting .367. Last 7 games, actually batting .323. So he's been cooking. Where Bobby Witt Jr., surprisingly so, he's starting to cool off a little bit. His last 15 games batting .246.
Okay.
Last 7, .231.
Okay.
So they're predicting that maybe Bobby Witt falls down a bit, and then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. jumps up. They have him right now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at .337, but I realistically think if it's going to happen, it's Bobby Witt's going to have to fall a little bit, and Vladdy's going to have to meet him somewhere in the middle and just overtake him at like the 330 mark or something like that. But that's pretty contentious. What do you think? Do you think that is a reality?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, again, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is hitting his stride at the perfect time right now. I do think that 12 batting average points is a significant amount right there.
Yeah.
It is really a significant
This late
amount.
in the season.
You know, you're looking at 19, 18 games there between the two of them. Like, that's a lot. You need a couple, like, 2-3 hit games in there. Like, actually, quite a few, I would say.
A lot of multi-hit games.
To make that happen. So, honestly, I like where their thinking is. I still think I trust and I believe in Bobby Witt Jr.
For sure.
I do, even though he's kind of cooling off a little bit. I think that, you know, this postseason run, like, that's gonna fuel him a little bit. Let's factor in, like, these guys they're gonna go to the dance, right? The Toronto Blue Jays are not going to do that. So Bobby Witt Jr., I would imagine, is not that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. isn't locked in at all,
right?
But like, there's more to play for. Honestly, there is more to play for there
because of the contractor speaking and everything like that.
Or are
you talking about Bobby Witt?
Talking about Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
right there. You know, it's like we're still fully invested in this season. Everything is locked in, ready to go. Again, not that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. isn't. However, there is just that subtle element of like, well, you know, in 3 weeks' time, I'm not gonna be in Canada anymore. Doing whatever it is I'm doing. So
see, and a lot of people have brought up on our Blue Jays Today show. We talk about like Vladdy and why he's getting hot. But you can make the other counter argument. Well, what if it's the opposite, right? What if it's because there's nothing to play for? He's more relaxed at the dish, and because Bobby Witt's seeing postseason around the corner, he's starting to try to force things a little bit. So there could be the other argument too. It all depends on the mental of the human being.
Yeah, of course, right. You're right. You know, it is so tough to speculate on all that shit because it's like at the end of the day, we don't know these guys personally. We don't know how they function when they're under a lot of pressure right now. Obviously, both of them very well because they're obviously having great seasons and there's lots of pressure throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
Who's going to finish hotter at the end of it? Like, I would don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. finish with the batting title. That would be freaking sick. Like, the guy is undeniably having an incredible year right now. He's got a 949 OPS, which ranks him 7th in all of baseball. So top 10 offensive player in terms of everything basically this year. I still think Bobby Witt's going to finish with the batting title, though.
You know what's funny? Final note on Vladdy. I'm making a video on him today. He actually has the same OPS plus 167 that he did in 2021.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting to note.
You know, that
different way to get there, but there's probably ballpark factors too. That's what it has a lot when they played half the season in Buffalo and all those stuff like that. So a little bit of ballpark factor there, but still interesting to note.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, again, undeniably, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having a phenomenal season right there. He is well deserving of whatever contract extension it is that he's going to get. Rumor on the street is that they are going to really be trying to gun after that this offseason, which is what they need to do. Blue Jays and Guerrero is who I'm referring to right there. Because, you know, you look at pretty much every single other guy ahead of him right now. I mean, And they're either already extended or just about to get extended. Juan
Yeah.
Soto's really the only one that isn't. So, yeah, that's what's going on right there, folks. You let us know in the comments down below who is going to win that battle, Bobby Witt or Vladdy.
Yeah, guys, and that is the end of today's episode. So let us know what you think about these teams going into this postseason run, and let us know what team are you a fan of, and we'll talk about them on this show because there's a lot of teams, and we want to make sure we talk about your favorite team on this show as well.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will catch you in the next one. Cheers.